We're going to take a look then at the second type of completing the square. So the only difference between this one and the one that we've looked at before is the number in front of the x. So it makes it a little bit more difficult when there's a number in front of, sorry, not the x squared, the coefficient of the x squared when there's a number there. So what we have to do first then is we have to take that out. We have to get rid of the fact that it's there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out 2 as common. So that means that I'm going to be left with x, sorry, I'm going to be left with x squared, make that closer, x squared, and then I also still have the minus 8x, sorry, minus 4x, so I've taken out 2 as common. I'm going to leave the minus 5 then over to the side. I'm not going to work with that. Okay, so I still continue what I'm doing. I keep my 2 where it is, and I keep my x and then minus 2 to be squared. What we were doing the last day with getting rid of the square and then getting rid of the x and dividing by 2. Okay, now this is our problem here, finding out this number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little bit of room over at the side here, and we're going to multiply this out and see what we have so far. So when I multiply that out, I have 2 by x minus 2 squared, which I'm going to just write as x minus 2 twice instead. I'm going to multiply in these brackets. That's going to be x squared minus 2x minus 2x and plus 4. Okay, so I have 2, then I have x squared minus 4x and plus 4. And I have 2x squared, when I multiply that out, minus 8x and plus 8, okay? So what I have done there, and the reason why I've done that is because I want to write this in completing the square form. I deal with this part first. I take out the 2 as common and I'm left with this part. I know I need to write it as something squared, and to do that all I do is I get rid of the square from the first and I divide the second one by 2 and get rid of the x. So that's always the same pattern. The problem with that is though is that this is no longer equal to this. So what we have to do is we have to multiply this out over at the side, which is what I did, to see what I'm working with so that I can figure out, well, how do I get it back to this minus 5? Because it's the last number is the problem. So when I look at this bit multiplied out, this thing here, when I multiplied all that out, got rid of all the brackets, squared it out, I end up with this thing here. And that's close to my original sum, bar the last number, and the last number is always going to be your problem. So to get this sum back to what it originally was, I have to get rid of my 8. So I have to minus an 8. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so I have more room. I have to get rid of my 8, so I'm going to minus an 8 to get back to 0, and then I have to get back to minus 5, so I'm going to subtract another 5. So that is why I did all of this second part on the right hand side. Because now I know I need to minus 13 to this bit here, and I get back to minus 5. So all I have to add on there, my last little step, is I have to say minus 13. So that if I went and I multiplied out this bit here, I would get this bit in the red, but it's also in the correct format of completing the square format, which is ax plus b squared plus c, and that's in that correct format. Alright, so we're going to try the next one then. The next one then is a small bit trickier, just because it's got 3's in it, but that's okay. Same rules apply. If you want to go back and pause that there, and you can take that down as notes or go through it yourself and see can you understand it, and then if you need to rewatch it, do rewatch it. We're going to take a look then at this second question here. So the problem with this second question is this bit. I need to get rid of that 3. So how I do that is I just take 3 out as common and I'm ignoring this 11. Don't worry about the 11, we'll deal with that later. So I'm going to take 3 out as common and I'm left with x squared plus 3x. Okay? And I keep my plus 11 there. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to deal with that later. Okay, I need to complete the square with this, and to complete the square, keep the 3 where it is. I get rid of the square. I divide this number by 2. So I'm just going to write it as 3 over 2, and I get rid of the x and I put my squared. And that's just something that you have to learn off. You get rid of the square, divide this by 2, get rid of the x. Okay, so now I need to find what this number would be to make it back to this. So I need to find what this is before I do that. So to find what this is, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room, and I'm going to multiply this bit out, and I'm going to see what I have. So I'm going to draw a little line here, and I'm going to multiply out what I have so far to see what I need to multiply to get back to it. Okay, I'm going to write it out as this so I can multiply it a little bit easier. I'm going to multiply the two brackets first. Whatever way you multiply your brackets yourself, I would multiply x by this, and then I multiply 3 over 2 by this. And you can use your calculator to help you with the fractions if you need. So keep the 3 where it is, I don't need that yet. I'm going to multiply this x by x, going to give me x squared. X by 3 over 2 is going to give me 3 over 2 x. So 2. Okay, and then I need to multiply 3 over 2 by this second bracket. So that's plus 3 over 2x. Multiplying that by that, you can check it in your calculator. It's just top by top, bottom by bottom. That gives you plus 9 over 4. And that's still inside a bracket because I still need to still in a bracket because I need to multiply by the 3 yet. So when I multiply out by that 3, I end up with 3x squared plus, with these two here, what I would do first is add that in the calculator, because you'll see when they add together, because they're both x's, they will give you a nice number of 3. So now when I'm multiplying 3 by all of that, it's just 3 by 3, so that's just 9x. And the last number then, 3 by 9 over 4, is going to be, check in your calculator if you want, that's going to be 27 over 4. Okay, so when I multiply this whole thing out here, I end up with this. So what we need to do then is we need to figure out how to get it back to this sum up here. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to get rid of this 27 over 4 because I don't want to deal with that, it looks awful. And to get rid of that 27 over 4, what I'm going to add in, I'll just make this again a little bit smaller, you need quite a bit of room for this stuff. What I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to get rid of that 27 over 4 by just saying minus 27 over 4, just get it away by subtracting it or just changing the sign of it. And then I'm going to say plus 11, okay? Because I want to get rid of this and I want to add on an 11. So I'm going to check what all of this is in the calculator. And when I check what that is in the calculator, I am getting plus 17 over 4. And that is what I have to add on to this sum to get it to be this sum. Okay, so all I have to do is say plus 17 over 4, so that if I multiplied out this whole thing here, I would end up with this bit in red, but I also have it in the correct form of a x plus b to b squared plus c. And again, the whole point of that is that if I have this sum here, I can take the part out that's in here and I say change the sign of it, and I take the number afterwards, the c, and I keep the same sign. That would mean that if I graphed out that function in red, this one up here at the top, that this would be my minimum point or my maximum point. So because I know it's a 3x squared, I know that's going to be a U-shaped graph. So it'll look something along the lines of this here, where this minimum point is that. So that's the whole aim of this stuff.